MCU Mondays on Geek News Now. We're talking about Marvel on Geek News Now. Now get the Winter Soldier, and there's Loki coming next. The movies and the TV and the comics and the rest. It's Geek News Now. Here's your host, Chris.
Welcome back to Geek News Now, MCU Mondays. I am Chris, and man, I got to get working on that new theme song because this one's now outdated. Loki's not coming next. We finished enjoying Loki. Loki is done. But I'm Chris. I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, Debbie, and we are joined by David. Oh, I turned my phone off. Also a member of the Geek News Now team, David runs the Literary Legion, and we're glad to have him here today to talk about all the different stuff we're going to talk about. But right before we get to that, I just wanted to also mention, if you go to the Geek News Now YouTube page, we have a great music video that just came out that I made, and it is Bare Naked Ladies, which I think, by the way, they should come up with a cover band that's Bare Naked Lokis. And it's just Loki variants playing Bare Naked Ladies songs. But it's pretty awesome music video. I can't play the sound right now because of the copyright stuff. But if you go to our main YouTube page, it's right there under recent videos and also in the playlist for music videos and trailers and stuff. So check that out. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed making it.
You know, Chris, I'm going to say this too. You made a video comparing the Loki hand loss to the Luke Skywalker hand loss.
Oh yeah,
and that one was amazing too. It's a little short thing, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's on my It's a Phase Productions YouTube page, and it's basically who lost it. I said, yeah, who lost it better, Luke versus Loki, and it's just them getting their hands cut off. Very short, very sweet. But yeah, I like, it's a lot of fun. I like to do the mashups and the music videos, and sometimes I was just like, he got his hand cut off and then he screams, and then I thought about Luke and he really lets loose with a yell. So and I put a vote on my Twitter page, and people pretty much were like, look, we're giving it to Luke. And I was like, I get it, I would give it to Luke too. That was my vote. I agree, there's no beating that. And also the Loki one was almost comical. It was literally a difference in like what you were supposed to be feeling when you saw this hand getting chopped off. In Star Wars, it's like, oh no. In Loki, it's like, screw that, Loki. Way to go, alligator. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. And we're going to talk more about Loki a little bit later. But before we do that, we've been waiting to talk about Black Widow until all three of us had seen it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about Black Widow. So if you still haven't seen it, you want to avoid spoilers, you might not want to be watching because we're about to get into it. So David, you saw it in theaters, correct?
Correct. Yes, had to have the theater experience on this one.
And what did you think?
Honestly, it was nice having the theater experience. I love going to the theaters. I love taking my son Luke to the theaters. And for a Marvel movie, that's always great. My head was in a really good spot. But as far as the movie itself goes, I don't know. I don't know if I was expecting more from it and I didn't get it, or if it was. I honestly, I think it was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I think if they had made and released that movie directly after Civil War and made it part of Phase 4,
if it had happened, I think in real
have
time when it happened in like their time, if it came out in the order, I agree 100%.
I think it would have had a lot more impact than on me personally than what it did.
That's when I did a review of this show. To put it concisely, I was basically like, this movie was coming out too late before it got delayed. So like you're screwed. Yeah. Because I agree. Because now they literally released it past the point where she died, so that it's not going to have any massive impacts on the story necessarily. So it's really just for the Black Widow fans and hardcore people who are like into the MCU. Your casual moviegoer isn't necessarily going to care as much.
I think too a lot of it had to do with the fact that to where and my dad said this before too when he went to go see the prequels for Star Wars. He's like, you know that character survives. You know she's gonna live, so you felt no urgency, tension for the character. Even when she was in the she's jumped out of the red room at the end, and she was diving without the parachute and all this other stuff, and you're like, she's gonna live.
But maybe some people you can if you can escape thinking about that kind of thing. I can't, so like I know what you mean. It just takes away, because even normally going into like a superhero movie, I don't go into Thor expecting to see Thor die. Like I'm pretty sure he's gonna come out of this, for Thor 2 and Thor 3, and like that's the way franchises work. And even if someone gets killed off, it's like, how are they gonna come back? So that isn't a huge thing for me, but even so, it's hard for me to care all that much about Black Widow at this point. And what was happening in the film, because also, and I didn't like Taskmaster. I didn't like what they did there. I'm hoping that
somebody compared Taskmaster in Black Widow to Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine, where they said they took an amazing character and completely changed it and messed it all up.
Yeah. We're kind of hoping to see that this was just like the Taskmaster protocols. This isn't actually like Taskmaster. Maybe it's actually based off of Taskmaster, and it's like, and that's why. But it's like a cyborg chick, and it's not Taskmaster,
right?
So, and maybe that's a good thing, because I also didn't like the original in the previews and stuff. The Taskmaster costume, it's like it's not enough of the skull. So maybe this was like fake Taskmaster. I mean, that's really what it is. Hey guys, Taskmaster's gonna be in the Black Widow movie. Yeah. And also, I think I was talking about this on another show, but there's the guy who says he plays the first mutant, and he's one of the guys who arm wrestles Captain Russia. He gets his arm broken or whatever. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, like, maybe it does turn out that guy's a mutant or whatever, but you didn't really portray a mutant on screen. You portrayed a guy who gets his arm broken. A mutant would have like turned into a bear and thrown that guy across the room, or something. Not just like get your arm broken
or had porcupine quills poke out of his face,
or like something. Yeah, he would do something other than just get hurt like a human. Just set yourself on fire and be like, "What now?" Something.
So
with the collar on, my superpower is just
unbridled cancer. Give me a bow and arrow. I'm basically Hawkeye.
It's good to have superpowers. Go on there.
So my question is then, speaking of that scene where he was arm wrestling all those guys, who did he fight in the 80s? Who did?
Because he keeps talking about fighting Captain America.
Captain America in the 80s, but we all know on that timeline, Captain America was still in the ice.
Well, people are all up in arms about this because, first of all, we know there have been other Captain Americas, like Isaiah Bradley.
Somebody posted that to say, "Oh, it's probably Isaiah Bradley."
But here's the thing:
he in jail by that time, though.
Well,
he would have been in jail.
You don't even need to ask that question because we already know that in the movie, what's his name, Red Guardian?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He asks Natasha if Captain America mentioned him. So he's clearly not talking about Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering.
You can tell the difference. I mean, so it doesn't really make sense that he would be, unless there was another white Captain America that he confused with, and who knows, they can do anything. Maybe he was fighting Loki, and Loki was just acting like he was Captain America because he loves to do that. I just thought that was weird. And other people have just been saying, "Well, he's lying."
I've heard that one too.
He's just lying about
it. He keeps accentuating it though. He's like, "I know it happened. I know it happened. I did it. And it's like,
and maybe it happened. When was the last time we saw Captain America? He went on a time travel mission, so maybe at some point He fought.
Maybe-
He could. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he fought old Captain America after Captain America went back to live his life with Peggy, and he was just living his life in the 80s. And
Yeah, because that's the thing. He still like lived out his life. Are you telling me like he never again did any sort of missions as Captain America? Or just as anyone, just throw on a mask and super soldier some stuff up? I mean, I would. But yeah, I don't know what's up with that. What did you think of the sister, Yelena?
I loved her.
Yeah,
I thought she was amazing, and I honestly I think that was the best part of the movie.
well, that's good because you saw her getting recruited at the end for the Dark Avengers
Dark
or whatever.
Avengers.
Yeah. So
Now
if
I'm
you
excited.
enjoyed her performance, you've got more certainly to come. I think actually they've now mentioned that she is going to be in the Hawkeye show because they teased that too with
They
the
teased
picture.
that,
Of,
yeah,
and
that
I
was
think
the end credit scene.
I don't know if I talked about this with Debbie or if this was on a different show that I was doing. But I think it was on a different show. But they're basically like introducing the fact that like she's going to be hunting him. That's going to be a 2-episode arc. She attacks them, and then they have a huge fight. And at the end of the fight, he says something like, "I didn't kill her," or what, blah blah blah. And then like, wait, what? And then it's like, oh, okay. And then the whole next episode, the first half of it is them like getting to know each other. And then they pull a mission together.
So it's like that
2
scene
episodes. It's happening.
It's like that scene in The Three Amigos. You meet Cochise, you fight each other, you come to respect each other, and at the end, you're friends.
It's exactly like that. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And I liked her for the most part as well. The one thing that I kind of have one of my weird things about is the fact that she was like, "You're such a poser. Every time you do this thing, it's you pull a pose." I'm like, how do you know that?
No, I loved that. I thought,
But how does she know that?
Who
Like,
cares? That was the greatest running gag ever. I loved it.
I don't think it was the greatest because I'm just
And then-
sitting here like, how do you know what she looks like when she does that?
And then she did it herself right there at the end, and she's like, "Oh God, now I'm a poser." Great.
Superhero landing. They're gonna do a superhero landing. What'd you think of it, Debbie?
Of the movie, or
Yep.
yeah, it was okay, and I agree with you guys. It just came out at the wrong time. Even
Uh-oh.
Chewie, she knocked over my Yoda. Even if it had come out originally, it still wouldn't have had, the impact. It wouldn't have been, I don't know. It's just, it should have come out within the chronological timeline after
And
Civil War.
If it had come out in the chronological timeline, I'll say this: that would have made all the fans a lot happier because they had been screaming since Iron Man 2 at least. When does Black Widow get her solo movie? When does she get her solo movie? And that would have, I mean, even to this day, fans are probably like, well, we're glad we got it, but that's like too little too late kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I mean, I enjoyed it because I'm a fan of the origin stories, or, the stories that happen that you don't really get to see, during, all the Avenger movies, because it's all about them right then and there. So I did enjoy that aspect, learning about the family and the Red Room and all that stuff. I did enjoy that, but yeah, it just came out at the wrong time. I think it would have been a lot more enjoyable.
Do you notice
if it had come out after Civil War?
There was one scene where the sister, I can't remember her name. She was amazing, but anyway, the sister called the Red Guardian. She called him the Crimson Dynamo. I was like, ho 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 ho. We've already had the Crimson Dynamo, but sure, go right ahead. Speaking of which, I'll take what's his name's Russian over Iron Man 2's Russian any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Oh, with
Great bird. It's a beautiful
We got this all the way from Russia.
A man is not my bird.
Well, listen, even if it's not the bird, I mean, this is a gorgeous bird.
Yep.
Isn't he
Any
supposed
day.
to be a combination of?
Crimson Dynamo and Whiplash, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just preferred the Red Guardians Russian than I did
Oh, sure. Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah. I mean, that's not. When I say the things that I like about Iron Man 2, which there are plenty, Mickey Rourke's not even. He's not even on the list. Like I'm not saying you didn't do a serviceable job as a villain or whatever, but when I'm thinking of like what I love about that movie, I'm not like, oh, Mickey Rourke, yeah, you lose, Stark. You lose.
That's not my build.
It's funny.
Is that your bird? I'm confused. You said it wasn't, but now it looks like you're best of pals. You love that bird, don't you? You know what? Take the bird.
That's the best part of Iron Man 2. Justin.
I'm talking about.
They need to bring him back for Armor Wars.
That's what I'm talking about.
I hope so. That's what I'm saying. That's better than a bunch of cheerleaders, huh? Okay. So, anything else about Black Widow? The good, the bad, the meh?
It was interesting, and maybe I'm overthinking it. When Valentina just kind of popped up out of nowhere. I mean, they kind of did a wide shot of the cemetery, and I mean, there was no other cars, and you don't see her lurking in the background, but yet she just kind of pops up out of nowhere.
See, and again, this is the too little too late thing. I think her appearance there would have been a lot more poignant if that was her first appearance, and it was supposed to be her first appearance.
Yeah.
But if that had been her first appearance, and you would have blown people's mind. You'd be like, oh, we know who that is, and we're looking forward to this now. It's going to be great. And then she pops up again in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you're like, they're tying it all together. Woo!
Mephisto confirmed.
Mephisto confirmed.
I do love that clip. Yeah, like I said, even though it was already coming out too late, if it at least had come out in the order it was supposed to, that would have been better. But now that's not even a reveal anymore since we've already seen it in Falcon Winter Soldier. I guess it is still another thing tying it together and pointing people towards Hawkeye, which I'm glad they've, like I did like Yelena. So it gives me something to look forward to in Hawkeye, because mostly I was just like, what is even going to happen in this show?
Basically Hawkeye.
That was another one of my big complaints about the movie, is that we still didn't get the whole story of Budapest. Maybe we'll get his version when he comes out, because we got Natasha's version, which really didn't reveal a whole lot. But
no, there were mentions. They're like, what are all these holes in the walls? Oh, some of them are arrows, and it's like, I know what that's about.
I understood that reference.
I got that one.
So yeah, maybe they'll, but tie it up in Hawkeye. I don't know. Maybe
at this point,
Right next to a huge steaming ball of foreshadowing.
at this point with the whole Budapest thing, I'm like, who cares? It's very obviously not poignant to the story.
They should have just left it as a
funny gag in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah. Now they're like, look, it's like in the Solo movie, how Han Solo got the name Solo. It's like, that was terrible, and you never should have done that. Like, don't dive too deep into just things that are
just better left unsaid.
Yeah,
It's like
better left
it's like Deadpool. Oh, Jacksonville! They got a great TGI Fridays. What happened in Jackson? What was Special Forces doing in Jacksonville? Don't go into it. Who cares? It's just a funny. It's a funny quip. Leave it alone.
Yeah, they do run a danger of going too deep into some things like that, but nah. So, Black Widow, whoop-de-doo. A serviceable MCU action film, but not really vital in the ways of like setting up Phase 4 or anything like that, or
other than the end credit scene, and that was it.
Yeah, so
that was really about the only thing.
But that's there's other movies where you can like look and see different pieces that they were setting up for further on, you know, like throughout the MCU. Like things that happen in like Thor 2, like that's one of the Infinity Stones shows up, you know, and then all these things bring people together. That's not really happening in this movie. It's very much about Black Widow and her family. And that's the main focus. I thought also I'll mention, I think Ray Winstone did a great job as being he's played the bad guy.
He was amazing. He was, because he wasn't ever silly about it. He was very serious and he was spot on. I mean, he was as a Russian mobster of sorts. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was like, I'd almost like to see a movie just about what he gets into.
Except now he's shut down.
Yeah.
That's Ray Winstone from the 2004 King Arthur, which I had to go rewatch after I saw Black Widow because I was like, he did so good. I gotta go check out this old movie. But yeah, Black Widow. It happened too late. That's what we can say about that. So now we're gonna talk about Phase 4 of Marvel, and now we've got WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, for what it's worth, and Loki under our belts. What do we think of what they're doing with it so far? What do we think of the TV show formats? And are you looking forward to more type things like that, or do you think it's like getting in the way of the movies, or do you think, or what do you think about what we've gotten so far and the way they're doing this stuff with the streaming?
I've enjoyed the shows. I mean, they're all going to be tied together some way or another. I don't care what anybody says, because I've heard various things that no, this is just separate. Yeah, you may not have to watch them to watch the movies and understand what's going on, but gosh, you just get a deeper story, if you do.
It's like the old Netflix. Well, I say the old Netflix shows. The Netflix shows. You had Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist and Punisher, and there's a slew of them. But basically, yeah. I mean, they were all happening within the same universe, and they made mention. I know Daredevil for sure made some kind of talk about the attack on New York.
Yeah,
and it was like they're happening within the same universe, but it's just a different story.
Well,
it's like this is going on over here while we've got this going on here.
Farther removed from like the MCU because they weren't directly a part of it, and people could say, well, it ties in stuff. It's like, well, they mention it, and they mention stuff, but it's not like the things that happen in Daredevil affected. The only one of their shows where it was even semi like that was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that was still kind of chancy on that. But that was, again, before they were getting everything under one roof. That was before the Fox buyout. That was before. So they had shows on Netflix. Well, they started shutting those down. That's why they didn't go farther with those shows, is because they're like, no, we're creating our own streaming.
We're doing our thing. So
we don't want to have anybody competing with that in that arena. So we're going to take it over here to our streaming service. And that's when they started buying back all the rights from all the other streaming services so they wouldn't be able to show Marvel stuff anymore or Star Wars stuff. because they're like, we're gonna have that on Disney Plus. You want to watch this, you got to get Disney Plus.
And I believe well, I don't know if it's actually been confirmed. I mean, I've seen things here and there, but they're bringing Charlie Cox back, Daredevil, from the Netflix series. And something I've seen over the weekend, I didn't get a chance to read the articles or find out who the articles were even from to determine whether or not they were rumors or clickbait. But Vincent coming back as Kingpin.
Well, okay, so on the Charlie Cox thing, because we were actually discussing this in the Literary Legion a few days ago. So far as I know right now, everything about him coming back is a rumor. There was he was supposed to make an appearance at Celebrity Fan Fest in San Antonio, but he had to cancel due to reshoots. And so a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, he's got Spider-Man. He's in Spider-Man. He's going to be in Spider-Man." And they're having to reshoot. And then somebody said, "No, they're not reshooting Spider-Man at this point because Spider-Man is too close. There's no reshoots going on right now." So a lot of people now are speculating, oh, well, maybe, She-Hulk. The She-Hulk miniseries is coming out to Disney Plus.
She's a lawyer.
She's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. It makes sense. But unfortunately,
she is green. He's blind. It's a match made in heaven.
That's right. But unfortunately, there is nothing on his IMDb account that says for sure what's happening.
Oh, they've got that stuff under wraps.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that's like, even when I was watching the Loki, the making of, the assembled, they're so secretive with the scripts, that half the time a lot of people on set don't even have like the full script or anything, or they don't know what they're going to be doing until like the day of shooting when they explain things, because that's how tightly wrapped they try to keep this stuff from getting the secrets to come out and stuff. Because obviously it's a big business. Being able to report, I mean, some people just make up the stories. Rumor,
Mm-hmm.
We got this covered. They do that plenty.
A lot.
It's just not good. Like, there's one thing between like having an opinion or having a theory. It's another thing to be like, rumor, might be happening, and when really it's just bullcrap that you're just.
Well, and if you read those articles, usually it's, we have a source close to the production team, and it's like, okay, who is it?
Oh, we can't name the source because
you got
it's
nothing.
Me. And my job is, what would rile folk up? If I slap that on Facebook, what would really get people going in the comments section?
Shut up and take my money.
You know it. But anyway, yeah, there's a huge business behind that, so they keep everything very secret. That's why people didn't know that. I mean, people were speculating on who was going to be in the Citadel at the end of time in Loki, and that it turned out to be a variant of Kang. A lot of people were thinking that it was going to be Kang, but no one knew until the episode came out that he was actually going to be the one sitting in that chair.
I was right.
Well, yes, but you didn't know. That was
know
your
sure.
theory. You didn't know.
Well, hey.
Where's Mephisto? Come on, baby.
Hey, you wait till Multiverse of Madness, buddy.
He probably will be in that. I hope so, anyway.
I know.
Mephisto confirmed.
But yeah, I had said that
the stork is enough.
Possibly a combination of Immortus and He Who Remains. So I was right. And I was also right about Sylvia being combination of Lady Loki and Enchantress. Because they mentioned that in the assembled.
Yep. She was also. They just combined those two into a variant, which now with the variant thing, they can pretty much do whatever they want. We got a multiverse. We can have these past characters come in. That's probably what's going on with Spider-Man. That could still even be what's happening with our very own Ralph Boner right here.
That's what I'm thinking.
It could be a variant or some type of thing. There's still some unanswered questions in WandaVision, obviously. That's one thing about WandaVision. WandaVision and Loki left us with a lot of questions.
And if you think about it, Loki was supposed to come out before Wanda. So having Ralph be a variant.
Was Loki supposed to come out before WandaVision?
Yes.
Huh. I didn't know that.
So that would make sense. So there's still hope for Quicksilver.
We'll see.
Oh, come on, guys.
I have no hope in that regard.
I keep hoping.
I believe there will.
Hoping for Mephisto.
I believe there will be a Quicksilver, but Ralph Boner it will not be.
What a waste.
He had the speed. I don't know.
I'm not saying that from the ashes of captivity never has a greater Phoenix metaphor been personified in human history.
If they redeem Ralph Boner. I mean, that name is just a joke. Come on.
Yep.
The whole thing is just a huge... If they're not doing something with it, then it's inexcusable.
It would just be a nice way to just have the shows themselves tie in to each other. But I don't work at Marvel. I don't make the big bucks. So, then, what the hell do I know?
Yeah, the first appearance of Kang was supposed to be, and probably, I guess this wasn't Kang, this is He Who Remains, but it's a variant. It was supposed to be an Ant-Man, which isn't until 2023?
Yeah, something like that. It's a long
so far down the road.
Didn't they start shooting today?
Oh,
I
maybe.
think they might have. Yeah,
I think I seen something on Twitter or Facebook that they started shooting today, or maybe it was yesterday.
Cam's got a pretty good comment in the comment section there.
Actually, you should get the T-shirt so you can wear it around. Let people know there's a boner alert. Can't help it. And we were literally talking about Ralph Boner. There's hardly a better, more opportune time to play that. And I honestly do want to see some sort of redemption from that, because that was very irksome. I think you guys remember when we were doing the show when that episode first came out, and I was just royally upset about that. Still, clearly a little upset about that.
Well, I mean, just like Loki, Wanda ended with a crap load of questions left unanswered. So,
what happened to White Vision? Where did he go? Albino Vision? I don't know. Eggshell White Vision. Is he part of the Dark Avengers team, or is he do you think he's going to get mixed up with them?
I don't know. I saw something. Somebody had posted a picture of the Dark Avengers, and it was, it was all everybody that they've recruited so far, and in fact, they even went so far as to throw in Red Hulk and
Abomination.
Yeah, thank you. And I was like, oh, I mean, it looks good, and all the characters are there. I mean, not obviously, but so far as we know, Abomination's popping up again in Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yep.
So
Abomination confirmed.
It's Finn. Come on.
He's fighting Wong in the Shang-Chi trailer. So
yeah.
We'll have to see exactly what happens with that, but
well, my question is, because I'm a bit confused. I thought Dark Avengers and Thunderbolts were two different things. So, because I've seen that same poster and it says Thunderbolts.
Maybe that's.
And I'm just like, are they the same? Or I just thought they were different storylines, and maybe they're throwing them together, because I've been saying all along they were lining it up for Thunderbolts, but
Well, they could be doing two different teams, and Lady Hydra or whatever could be putting together one, and Thunderbolt Ross could be putting together a different one, or it could be combined into some sort of thing.
I was gonna say,
we're gonna have to see where they go with it, or they could end up doing both at different times. Like I was on Dark Avengers, and then that turned into blah 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 blah. It's possible, especially with Multiverse of Madness coming up. Gosh, I cannot wait for that movie. And Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, there's going to be a lot just from the casting that we do have confirmed. The Charlie Cox thing is still a rumor, but we do know that Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2 is going to be in it, and Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is also confirmed to be in it. So that sounds like some multiverse shenanigans. Doctor Strange is going to be in it too. And the toy that, if you've seen, they released images of the Spider-Man suit with the toy. There's in the different photos, there's him using like blue web blasts, which could be him using some sort of magic. And there's been a lot of teases, possibilities about like him with the Sorcerer Supreme. And I think there's some stuff in What If that's going to be about that too. What If coming out a lot sooner, actually in just like 2 weeks.
Did Spider-Man use magic in the comics? Because I don't really remember that.
Well, no, because there's multiverse events going on, and he's going to be hanging out with Doctor Strange. Like, who knows?
So if they do this with Spider-Man and they tie the multiverse in, is that just basically going to negate Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse?
I don't know how they're gonna. And that was also like Sony,
yeah,
and like an animated thing.
That was the different. That'd be like Venom and Morbius.
Yeah, that's under their branch of the stuff that they own, which they're never going to fully give up. But at least they are letting the MCU Spider-Man kind of continue, because that was still up in the air for a while.
Maybe Disney just needs to buy Sony.
Can they? Would that? You want them to also? You want Disney to own PlayStation?
Oh,
you got to think this thing through.
Maybe not.
It's a lot, yeah. All for Spider-Man, though.
Maybe the Disney PlayStation.
Sounds like a great idea.
Are you kidding me? This baby is off the charts. Why?
Oh, a sarcasm detector. Well, that's a really useful invention.
I really did love the Loki Assembled show. Tom Hiddleston.
He narrates the whole thing, by the way.
Yes. I mean, of course, y'all know how much I love Tom, so I just basically sat there and drooled the whole time. But Owen was talking about how Tom gives these Loki lectures, which I for one would pay money to sit in a room.
Well, he had to.
I know.
Just have Tom Hiddleston, talk to you about Loki.
Yeah, they ought to make that a show in and of itself. You know, just Tom talking about the ins and outs of Loki. And
just want Tom Hiddleston to get like an OnlyFans where he just like sits around.
I would pay for it, and I would wear my little drool bucket under my chin, and I'd be a happy camper.
Oh yes, that's what we like to see. I liked from that assembled. Well, first of all, the cast and crew interviews are always great. But classic Loki or old Loki was one of the peoples that they interviewed, and he was just great. And they showed some concept art that they were like, because Tom Hiddleston was saying, we were never going to cast anyone other than him for this role. So much to the fact that when they were doing concept art for it, then they show a picture of like old Loki sitting on a throne laughing. It was like, and it's just his face. Yeah. So that all came together really nicely. I was a little disappointed again with all the questions. Like I felt like, but then again, that's partially probably why Loki is already announced to be having a season 2.
Thank God.
Because there's a lot more questions asked that that I want answered. There's a lot more I want to know about Loki. There's a lot more I want to know about the TVA as it stands now. Why didn't, for sure, Mobius know who Loki was? Like, is it a timeline thing? Is it a... How does that... You know, as much as they explained all that, they didn't explain much of it on how any of this works. So there's a lot of questions. Is Sylvie still just at the end? She's got a time dial, but she's at the Citadel at
the end of time.
So which...
And then you got Ravonna, you know, she went looking.
Where did she go? Yeah, she white visioned right out of there. Yeah,
I think
she's off. Where are you going? To find who's in charge. Well, wouldn't that have taken you to where
Citadel
they
at
were
the end of the
going?
time?
Yeah, like, oh, but Miss Minutes gave her coordinates or something like that. And then that leads to the question, like, is Miss Minutes working for He Who Remains specifically, or is that... I would assume so, but then that means He Who Remains gave Ravonna something to do before he got killed. And what? And why?
She'll end up hooking up with one of the Kangs because that's the storyline.
I was going to say, isn't that the way it happened in the comic?
Yeah,
book?
in the comics, you know, they're lovers. So
yeah. But I was just wondering if they, if she got sent straight to another Kang, and if so, why? Because wouldn't that just be something that would encourage multiversal wars? But there's also a lot of questions about He Who Remains, and was he insane, or did he want Sylvie to kill him? He literally says
he was tired, he was bored.
Was he imprisoned there, or, you know, people have a lot of theories. He was definitely starting to look kind of like crazy. I'm off the reservation. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. He did mention, though, in the assembled things, he's one of the last people that gives an interview, and he talks about what he liked about Kang was that he's got these different possibilities or variants, and he was talking about, so every Kang that we see after this is going to be like a reflection on He Who Remains, because they can't be that, so they have to be, by nature, be something else. And he says when Kang starts rearing his head, I'm like, so that's kind of interesting. Like, now, do you think the first thing we're going to see of Kang, they said, is Quantumania? But what if there are other variants that show up before then? Like, not He Who Remains and not Kang, but other variants of that.
Variants of
yeah. And so then they could say, and when people are like, well, you said Kang wasn't going to show up till Quantumania, they're like, well, Kang isn't. This is Bang or Dang or Clang.
Bang.
I don't know.
Bang.
I don't know. Kang 1, Kang 2. It's a Kang Bang.
I think Kang the Conqueror would be the one that would show up in Ant-Man 3. So there's evidently all kinds of Kangs that can pop up here and there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he mentioned
chaos, and
they're the ones that figured out the gateways between worlds, and the only thing that was stopping all that from happening was him keeping the possibility of other timelines from occurring. And now that that's stopped, I guess it's already happening. Obviously, it's already happening. Loki's looking at a TVA where there's a statue of... Well, it looks like He Who Remains, but if that's Kang the Conqueror, then and again, was that Kang, or is it just another variant, or blah? Either way, it's not good. But what he's saying has already started coming true. The variants of him have already started doing stuff, and they apparently have time travel
figured out.
They own the TVA. They are the TVA, so you know they have multiverse travel figured out. That's kind of crazy. It's a very dangerous enemy for sure.
But see, here's the thing is, and this is what I'm thinking is that, okay, so Loki ended with Loki going up and saying he's coming, somebody big and bad is coming.
Paul revering the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got several movies and several TV shows in between there and Ant-Man Quantumania where we were first promised Kang. So what if these other movies don't really deal with Kang. I mean, Multiverse of Madness maybe could touch on it just because it's the Multiverse of Madness, but I mean, like the villains in each one of these are going to be different villains, and maybe it'll be like Thanos in the first Avengers movie, where he was just a flash at the very end, and then it just kept building and building until we finally got him in Infinity War. This is going to be one of those things where Kang, he's there, he's an imminent threat, and Loki was the first one that said he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. And they're just basically building to, okay, here's Ant-Man and Quantumania, and we're going to introduce him now.
But he's also not like he's not the only threat out there. Like, I think that's another thing about the multiverse, that the Multiverse of Madness is going to, and What If probably is going to show off a little bit more, is that the creation of the multiverse, or that unleashing of the multiverse, is going to be like Pandora's box. There's going to be a whole host of different problems and situations that come out of that, like Spider-Man No Way Home. It's starting to look like a lot of that has to do with some sort of multiverse shenanigans.
Well, and I would assume Wanda's going to cause even more issues.
She's trying to get her kids back.
Yeah, in multiverse. So
somebody said something about that. There was a theory about that, to where Loki didn't actually cause the Nexus.
Yeah, they're talking about how
Wanda was the one that did it.
The timing of the episode,
right?
If you watch the two side by side,
it all happens at the same time.
I don't know if it's actually true, but it looks like they line up, because when He Who Remains starts talking about, oh, we've broken the threshold or something like that, and at the exact same time you see Wanda doing her thing in the cabin, and then she hears the boys. So we'll see if that's all connected or not.
Well, I thought it was
theory.
No,
I thought somebody had said something about
it was when she first assumes the mantle of Scarlet Witch.
When she says the Scarlet Witch, and he says something like, okay, we're at this point and I don't know what happens beyond this. Something has just happened. He stops and says something's happened and I don't know what happens beyond this point.
Yeah.
And that was apparently that lines up with she took the mantle of the Scarlet Witch.
When you're watching the episodes, but here's the thing. Aren't they at a citadel outside of time? So how is something happening at the same time as that? Wouldn't everything be happening at the same time as that? Or nothing happening at the same time as that? How? You're not on the timeline right now. How are things, but it's constantly happening around you. So how can you say, oh, right then was when she did that? What? I mean, and maybe that is what they were what they're trying to go for, but that doesn't make sense to him. Like, why couldn't he see past that moment in time? I thought it was because he was supposed to die there, and even like the Ancient One was like, I've never been able to see past this moment in time, because that's when she dies. I thought it was something similar for him. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next. Or it's like, or maybe because there's other people there now that can affect the different choices, or blah, blah, blah. But it's like, oh, it's because at that same time, Scarlet Witch, and I was like, she did that on the timeline. And I thought she was always destined to be the Scarlet Witch anyway. But I think maybe they're connected somehow, but I think killing He Who Remains is what caused the timeline to start going like, woo. Because then the other, and I guess the TVA was controlling all of that. Now my question is, are there multiple TVAs from multiple different?
That would make sense, because if there were multiple TVAs, that would explain why Loki went to Mobius and said, hey, he's coming, and he's like, okay, who are you and who's coming? Yeah,
but that also says a bigger thing. I mean, that says, yeah, because maybe he's in a different reality, where Loki isn't that big of a deal, or where that Mobius never learned about Loki. Maybe that's not even the same Mobius that he went on his adventures with. This is a variant, essentially.
Well, I mean, Loki's virtually ignored. I mean, all the guards run past him, and it's just like, he didn't matter anymore. So either things immediately changed when she killed He Who Remains, or it's just another timeline. So it'll be interesting to see.
Loki too, I guess. I don't expect we'll be seeing more of the TVA before then. Never seen him before now. I don't think they're just going to start showing up in other shows. I think we're going to have to wait for Loki before we see Owen Wilson again.
Oh, okay. So let's say, for sake of argument, Loki season 2 happens around the same time next year. What do we have? I mean, you can that's easily, you just look at it and you say, okay, well, we got Shang-Chi. Chances are there won't be anything there. Spider-Man's coming out in December.
The Eternals before that.
Eternals in November, Spider-Man December. The Eternals may touch on it.
Yeah.
Just because they're eternal.
And a lot of people have said we never interfered before until now, and people are saying that until now refers to like
the Nexus
multiverse. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Which
when does, and Doctor Strange is what, May?
March, yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna have 4 movies now between now and Loki season 2, and you might have one, maybe 2 of them touch on the TVA. Oh, and then you got Hawkeye is coming out later this year. She-Hulk. Have they started shooting on that one?
No, I'm not sure.
I thought that one. I didn't think that was coming out till next year.
I'm not sure.
I have to look.
Well, I said last week that I thought Loki 2 would come out right before Quantumania.
And that would kind of sort of make sense.
Which was 2023.
Yes, 2003. Let's just get this all over. We're talking about time travel here. Why not?
Let's do it.
I could stand to be 20 years younger.
Could you stand?
Me too.
Take that hit. Yeah, so Hawkeye, I wasn't looking forward to it overall. I'm slightly looking forward to it more now because Yelena's going to be in it and it's going to be affecting stuff going forward. So there's that. And I think it might actually give us some insight into Secret Invasion, because in one of the trailers, there's a really fast clip of like Barton body slamming this old lady, and they play it really quick, but I froze the frame and I was like, that's like a grandmother. Why is he body slamming a grandmother? And then I thought of Captain Marvel and how she like punched that old lady in the face because it was a Skrull, and like Secret Invasion is coming out, so I'm thinking maybe he could be fighting someone like that. On the other hand, it could even be something like that face
the
technology,
face mesh.
Yeah, that Black Widow always uses. So it could be something like that. That could even be Yelena dressed up like an old woman, but he figures it out because he's used to that trick, because it's just like Budapest.
I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to, well, you mentioned the Secret Invasion, and so now moving forward, they've got their irons, or they got the irons in the fire for Secret Invasion. They've got Armor Wars. They've got Multiverse of Madness. And in the first 3 phases of all of these, I mean, it was very focused, the first 3 phases. It was, we need to get Origins in there, and then we need to introduce Thanos, and everything's building to a showdown with Thanos. But now we're in phase 4, and it's like, well, we've got Multiverse going on, we've got Secret Invasion going on, and we got Armor Wars going on, and we've got this, and we got that, and it's like, slow the horse down. You're going to confuse everybody. Nobody's going to, oh, well, you've got to go see this movie, and this movie to understand Secret Invasion, and this movie, and this movie to understand the multiverse stuff. And don't forget these 2 movies and this TV show over here, which will explain everything else. And it's like,
well, it's just not going to happen. It didn't even happen when the original like Marvel movies were coming out, like you'd have the Avengers, and every Avengers movie usually got a huge turnout. Then Iron Man would do its thing, Captain America would do its thing, because people would be like, oh, I love that Avenger, so I'm going to go see that movie maybe multiple times. But maybe I don't like this other one, so maybe I'm going to skip it. Maybe I'm just a casual fan. Blah blah blah. But those like big event movies like the Avengers always draws in the biggest crowd. But that's why Black Widow, when they were like, oh, there's a huge drop off the second week, I was like, that's because everyone that's been dying to see that movie saw it as soon as they could, and nobody else even cared about it because it's so long and it's out of place. It's been so long since it was supposed to come out, and it's so out of place that it's like whatever.
Well, and
it doesn't affect the story.
It doesn't affect the story, and they released it on Disney Plus. So you lost a lot of revenue as far as theatrical release goes when you say, oh, well, you can just sit at home and watch it. And it's like, yeah.
I did.
Debbie.
I'm a hermit.
Makes you wonder.
You gotta understand, I'm a hermit. I don't like going anywhere. So this was a dream come true for me to actually watch a movie, not have to wait 3 months to see it when it would appear on Disney Plus for free. I won't do that for every single movie, but for certain movies, I will pay that $30 because I'll probably watch it several times and enjoy it. And I don't like going to the theaters because people bug the hell out of me.
I hear that.
Yeah, but you don't get popcorn and sodas.
I never do when I go to the movies.
Oh.
I might get a pop and some chocolate, but that's about it. Or I might sneak in chocolate.
Yeah.
A pop? You mean a Coke?
I'm not paying theater prices.
Huh?
He's just making fun of the fact that he said pop.
Yeah.
Oh, pop, yeah. Or Coke. I call everything Coke.
There you go.
Drugs in the movie theater.
I really hope they can work him into season 2. What a great character. I would love to see him come back somehow.
Sure, he's not dead. He turned himself into a very convincing helmet. So convincing that Eliath left it behind after it swept by. It really, literally did. Like, why did it? He must be secretly, he illusioned himself as a helmet.
Well, maybe he just got swallowed whole, and he passed through the digestive tract of that animal and came out the other side.
Digestive tract. No, they show it. The cloud goes by. He's standing there. The cloud goes by, and then there's just a helmet. So, and it was disintegrating the heck out of everything else, like all those soldiers on the ship. It's just a giant cloud that eats matter. Nice. Got to get me one of those.
Oh, it's like Parallax in that Green Lantern movie.
Exactly.
Right next to a
Dubstep's on pussies.
You're so dark!
You sure you're not from the DC universe?
It's the one I meant to play. Anywho, What If comes out next. Very much looking forward to that. Eternals, Shang-Chi. There's a bunch coming down the pipe there. And
Shang-Chi I was kind of on the fence about, but the more I see the previews and the more I watch the previews, the more I'm excited about this one. I'm ready to go.
I'm on the fence about it just because of the way they're doing the rings. And I'm really hoping that they go like in the comics and each of the rings have individual powers. But in the previews, it looks like it's just like, look, I've got a bunch of rings that allow me to shoot red or blue energy depending on.
Right.
And I'm like, they could do so much more. But also, who knows what they're doing with the story? Maybe that'll come later. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't have a lot of high expectations, or like I don't have a lot of expectations for it. But I'm interested to see like what it presents as far as like the MCU going into Phase 4. Like, what is Shang-Chi and what is his place going to be within like this universe?
Well, and see, that was something, and God help me, they did such an amazing job when Guardians of the Galaxy came out. everybody was looking at it going, what the crap is this? I've never even heard of these guys. I mean, I know of Rocket Raccoon, and that's about it. I know the name. Is that a tree?
What is this?
But look at it. You could go to any MCU fan right now, and I guarantee you Guardians is probably top 5, one of the top 5 on their list of MCU movies. Either one of them. So
the soundtrack
helps. Was amazing. The cast was brilliant. It was brilliantly cast. Everything meshed just the way it needed to. So basically, Marvel took an unknown group of characters and made them a household name. I expect the same thing from Shang-Chi, to where it's like people are looking at it going, who the crap is Shang-Chi? And then this movie happens and they're like, oh my gosh, he's the greatest thing ever. Let's go.
Could be. We'll have to watch and find out. I got to say, the thing I'm most excited for is What If, and then probably Spider-Man. Like, again, with Eternals, it's like almost the same deal as Shang-Chi. I'm like, I'll probably see it, but I'm not like, oh boy, finally the Eternals. You know, I'll be like, what are these Eternals? Tell me more about that. You know,
it's the same thing as Guardians of the Galaxy. You're like looking at it going, all right. The lay fan knows nothing. If you've grown up reading the comic books, you know, since you were a little baby, you probably know all about them, and you probably know all the backstories and everything, and you may be excited for it at that point. Where it's like, oh, finally, we're getting this, you know, this part of the universe taken care of. Whereas Joe Blow on the street, who just wants to go see the Avengers movies, is looking at it going, I'm not going to watch this. Has nothing.
What are they, growing crops? Why does their spaceship look like a giant brick? What is this? What's happening? Although Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek being in there. Although I was excited when I heard Salma Hayek was in it at first. And then apparently some people are upset because they gender swapped the character she's playing. I think she's playing like the leader, and that was originally a guy in the comics. But again, I wasn't upset because I had no idea. Now, maybe people that, again, if you like the comics and you were like, this is my favorite character, you might not be super jazzed to see Salma Hayek playing the character that you feel should be portrayed by someone else. Me, as someone who knows nothing about it, is like, I like that actress. I have to wait and see. I don't have a personal investment in that, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same way because I don't know anything about the Eternals, so
they kind of have a blank slate to work with there. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's kind of
I think the same is with Shang-Chi and with in Guardians, when the Guardians first came out. It was like, well, we're gonna just kind of start this and do it our way because nobody knows about this, and we garnered a major hit there. So
Spider-Man's a totally different animal. That's he's had cartoons every decade for the past however many years, major motion pictures, tons of them, different iterations of the characters, video games, huge video games, and like the animated movies that have come out recently. So that you have a lot of hardcore fans, those webheads, who really are passionate about this character. And so the way that they portray him, you know, is kind of a big deal. You don't want to get that wrong.
I think that too, you know, that one is also going to deal with like you were saying, the Avengers. People go see the Avengers movies, and they go see them multiple times because it's the event movie. It's the big event movie. Spider-Man's going to be the same way. And Spider-Man, not because of me and you and Debbie, who are big fans and just want to go see the movie, and we'll go see it 2 or 3 times because it's amazing. But you've got little kids that are 4, 5, and 6 years old, and Spider-Man's all over their shirts, and they watch the cartoons, and they have all the toys and everything. Daddy, we want to go see Spider-Man. Okay, let's go.
And he's a fun hero for for kids too, because he is younger. He is usually the kid on the team.
Right.
So, and he, certainly this version of the character. And they're about to mix it up with the multiverse stuff and also throw Doctor Strange into the mix. And that's really awesome. I can't wait to see Doctor Strange. Fans have been hungry for Doctor Strange. They thought he was going to be in WandaVision. People were like praying for him to be in that. He wasn't, because we got to see him in action in Infinity War. like for the first time, really get to see him let loose with the magical powers. And it was pretty awesome. He's making all those different versions of stuff. He's throwing around these like space whips and stuff, turning Thanos' like blasts of energy into like butterflies and being all mystical. It was pretty awesome to see that. I'd like to see him in a movie where he gets to really let loose, which I think we'll get in Multiverse of Madness and maybe some in Spider-Man, but I'm excited for that. Because in Doctor Strange, the original, he was like, it was mostly him learning it and then dying over and over at the end, which was great. But it's like, it was only in Infinity War where you got to see him like let loose.
Yeah, I'm a huge Benedict fan, so
Ever since
Sherlock Holmes.
I was going to say Sherlock Holmes was.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched that series. Several.
I thought his performance as Smaug was what really. In The Hobbit, watching him in that motion capture suit. Oh yeah, that's a dedication to the performance that just really comes through on screen. But he also plays a great Doctor Strange. I mean, he fits the character. His Doctor Strange is one of my favorite MCU movies in and of itself. His arrogance too, and then him having to be humbled, which still makes him a pretty arrogant guy, but now he's at least tolerable. Man, is he a douchebag in the beginning of that movie? Like for a lot of, oh man, arrogant. But it's a really enjoyable film. And that's why I'm, and that the trippy psychedelic stuff, awesome. And I think Multiverse of Madness could maybe crank that up to 11.
Oh yeah, I'm expecting big stuff from that, trippy stuff.
Mephisto,
and it was
right.
Yeah, exactly. Multiple versions. Mephisto's confirmed. Got variants.
Mephisto, Nightmare.
I was gonna say, it seemed like I heard a rumor that Nightmare was the villain in
Nightmare
Multiverse of Madness.
We'll see. I don't know. There's been rumors, so many rumors flying around about these movies.
It's Mephisto.
It's vampires and werewolves. Oh my.
Well, that's how they're going to introduce Morbius. They'll have
Blade.
In Blade, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for Venom and Morbius. So
Venom 2. Oh yeah.
I'm still not quite on board with Woody Harrelson, but I'm taking it with a grain of salt at this point.
I generally am a fan of Woody Harrelson, so
I'm a fan of Woody Harrelson. Don't get me wrong, I love him. Not as Carnage.
Not as Carnage?
No, I don't think so. I think he's too old.
We shall see.
I also don't have a personal attachment to Carnage at all, so like I know Venom. I didn't know much further into like the symbiote. There's a bunch more I started reading up on. I was like, good. There's tons of these different, and it all relates back to it's all so interconnected. That's partially why it's a shame. Like when you were like Disney should buy Sony. I know. I sometimes wish for something like that too, just so that they could fully utilize all of the properties that they actually, because it's like, you're shooting yourself in the foot when you're trying to make these team up movies, but you can't use the Fantastic Four and the mutants and and yet they're existing in their own iterations. But so now it's great that they are going to be able to do that with the mutants and the Fantastic Four, but they still can't. It's just good that they've been able to do as much as they have with Spider-Man. But you can see Sony's not backing down. They have plans to make their own
Spider-Verse.
And they don't want to call it that because they're like, it's not just Spider-Man. I was like, but it's all of the properties you own because of Spider-Man. So yeah, it's that.
Yeah,
the problem is Sony just doesn't have a great track record.
Well, Into the Spider-Verse did very well.
I didn't watch any of those, so I can't really comment, but I'm just commenting on some of the other movies where they've just
I liked Into the Spider-Verse mainly because it dealt with Miles Morales. I like the character of Miles, and the whole movie was basically how he came to be Spider-Man. So I was like, okay, I can get into this one.
The visuals and casting for that were also spot on.
Yeah.
The visuals were awesome. They did some really cool stuff. I really like the style. Actually, I want to go back and watch it again now.
I think I do too. Is it on Netflix? Is it on Netflix?
I don't know. It probably not.
It was.
Oh wait,
on
it's
Netflix.
Sony. To look that up. But anyway, yeah, Into the Spider-Verse is a good one. And they did Spider-Man trilogy. 1 was good, 2 was great, 3 was kind of a mess, but still J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he's the only constant.
I want to get those pictures of Spider-Man. I mean, I rewatched those movies recently and I was like, this is gold. This is perfect. Like this. Say what you will about the entirety of the movie, but this man as this character
he makes it
perfect. It is perfect. I need to get some clips of him to play next week. I want pictures of Spider-Man. Gonna get him. All right, and I think that's we're over an hour here, so I think we're gonna call it a night. Very much looking forward to Marvel, the MCU going forward. Can't wait to see What If and what they're going to do there. Hoping for a Spider-Man trailer to drop. What's the rumor? The latest rumor on that?
August 1st.
August 1st is apparently Spider-Man Day. So we're thinking it's the latest rumor going around. The one before this was it's coming out with Black Widow. The one before that was it's coming out with Loki. The one before that. So we'll see. We'll take this one with as much reliability as any of those, and I'll believe it when I see it. Again, I've been rickrolled more times by fake Spider-Man trailers than anything else in my entire life.
Honestly, I got rickrolled again. Just this, I think it was last week, and it was a reliable, tweet. Somebody said it's finally here. Here's the Spider-Man trailer, and I clicked. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. I'm like, oh no, I got it. I got nailed.
I'm not clicking on anything unless it has the Sony underneath it.
Yep. So we will hope and pray for that Spider-Man trailer, but there's no confirmation on when we're getting that. And we still have Eternals and Shang-Chi coming out before Spider-Man. So it's not like there aren't other properties and things that they've got coming out before then, but still, gosh.
Normally, when a movie's scheduled to come out, usually about 6 months ahead, they start releasing like the little teaser trailers, and then as you get closer, then you get the longer trailers, and we just haven't gotten.
Well, I think there was a similar thing that happened with Far From Home. Like it was a long time before the trailer came out, and like the movie theaters are putting up fan-made posters because there's been no posters that have come out, and they're trying to advertise the movie, but they don't have anything to do it with yet. So. We'll see. And some people are, saying for different reasons, it's because they don't want to give something away that's blah, 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 and this or that. But I think with Loki, most of the possible things, because
there is a few that didn't show up in the show, so.
I mean, I don't know what you can spoil about what the Eternals or Shang-Chi by showing us something from Spider-Man. So, and it might just be to build the frenzy of anticipation. It certainly seems to be working. Anyway, we'll wait and see if we do get it. Well, obviously we'll watch it here on MCU Mondays. So whenever that comes around, we'll be watching it. We're all waiting for it, just like you. But until next time, here's the hammer dance.